Hey, Coach BK here. So, I'm working with an athlete that is struggling with some IT band issues, IT band syndrome, quote unquote. And yes, she does need to work on some strength, but we really do need to take a look at shoes. And my professional opinion is that Hokas are not for everybody. And so, she's in this Clifton 3. She's been running in them quite a bit. And, first time Ironman. So, combine some hip stuff with some maybe shoe problems due to mileage or sort of wearing in or whatnot. So don't think that I'm bashing the Hokas. However, for this particular athlete, it doesn't work well. And so I think a lot of the times we get into, one size fits all kind of thing or solution for all, because the cushioning is nice. But look for her how this is going. So here's just real quick. I noticed this with her when she was running a race together, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's partly why your hip is hurting, is because of this motion. So we're looking at this foot in particular, because it's this side that's hurting. That's how things go. Something over here is not working, something over here hurts. It's kind of the nature of the game. So when she lands, you can see she lands here, and then this movement right here, how far out that is pronounced pronation and causes this hip to drop too much. And so this length right here is too long, because now she's got to where her hips are kind of like that, stuck like that. And so the IT band is not the problem. The IT band is just getting overstretched and inflamed. So you can see again in that one foot, so she lands and how pronounced that pronation is. And then, a little bit here in this movement. So her physical therapist and stuff like that was like, hold off on shoe changes. However, this amount of pronounced pronation is kind of off the charts. So we'll progress through some other videos to see where it really is the shoe, it's not the foot. Okay, so this is the second video that I did with this athlete, and what I knew about her was that she had pretty high arches and stiff ankles, and that's a consideration as well when you're putting folks in certain types of shoes. Stiff ankles and high arches can sort of be a problem sometime, but for this consideration with her shoe that she is in that is not worn out, but very cushiony, she kind of lost some stability in her ankle over pronating, and it was with this foot in particular. So when she lands, you can see there's a slight smidge of pronation, but pronation is actually a needed function in the foot. You supinate, you pronate, and you go on. So you can see that really there isn't too much overpronation here. There's a little bit. Her arches could use some support, so she did have super feet in as an idea, but you can see that she's not overpronating terribly, and certainly nowhere near the amount that she was overpronating in the shoe. So then what we did was we put a Berry Superfoot in there to see if we could stop the pronation. So she has Berry Superfeet in this Clifton now as well. And when she strikes, this motion right here, a lot more significant than with barefoot. And you can see just how to the side that is. I'm surprised that her knee didn't hurt over here and that the only pain that she had was the IT band. But you can see that the Superfoot really didn't change at all how much she was supinating in this Clifton. The next thing that we did with this athlete was to consider, is the shoe a little too worn down? The tread didn't say so, and the amount of miles that she had been running in didn't say so. But the Clifton had come out with a Clifton 4, so we decided to try the new Clifton 4. And again, we're not bashing the Clifton, it's just everybody's individual. So if one Clifton works for somebody, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for somebody else. So you can see that she still is getting a lot of movement here. The shoe, because she didn't have this much movement with just her bare foot. So it's the shoe, and whatever the relationship with her foot and the shoe is, is causing a little bit too much. So you can see there's a little bit too much motion right here, and then really none on the other side. So this was the Clifton 4 without super feet. And then this is the Clifton 4 with her berry superfoot in there. And so when we're going through here, we still see the same motion. So the superfoot and the Clifton 4 together are not doing the job of correcting that pronation. And it could just be how the shoe is built and how she is running right now. And again, just the entire point is not bashing Hoka's. It is that everybody in their gait need analysis a lot. If you're changing races, distance, speed, maybe not doing as much strength. So it is worth the money to reassess for the gait and to recognize that sometimes one shoe's just not going to work. So this was a follow-up day where we were trying on shoes that were possible solutions, and this is an example of really good video for run form. I can see enough here and maybe even just a smidge back, but the camera is at knee height. I'm using my iPad, and I'm catching enough so I could also look at the hips and whatnot. So if you stood back and captured this part, but maybe a little bit more of the shoulders would be useful, and from the back and the side as well would be very useful for run gait analysis. But back to this athlete's story. So we were trying on, and this shoe is the Bondi Hoka, and so when we look here, we can see that there's just, whoops, not that. We can see that there's just a little bit of movement right here, not a terrible amount, right? It would be fine. And then this foot's pretty solid. So this is the Hoka Bondi. We tried the Brooks Ghost with the idea that there was going to be some cushioning, but a neutral shoe when we were putting in a superfoot. However, we really didn't like that, so we didn't include it here. I didn't find it useful information. This is the Hoka Arahi. It is obviously Hoka shoe with stability in it. And so when we were looking here, one of the things with the Arahi is that it's going to encourage some supination, and so you can see that out here. And she lands pretty good, just a smidge what we've been seeing of this pronation, which is completely fine. So this shoe would have been a good shoe for her. However, the fit was not all that great. The Arahi is a little more narrow than the Bondi, so we went, this shoe we really didn't think was much of an option. And so finally for this athlete, so this would be a perfect example of how high to go with a run analysis. So I can see her shoulders and whatnot. So we're just really focusing only down here. You know, there's other things to be talked about, but we're working on form, and this athlete has, you know, firm ideas on what else to do with strength and stuff. So when we're looking at the right foot, we see the land, and we see this. So this is the Hoka Bondi with the berry superfoot in there to provide her high arch with some support. She has a little bit of pronation right here, which is normal. Pronation is what you need to distribute force through the foot bones, so that's fine. You don't want to stop all pronation. It kind of makes things sideways. And then on the opposite side, you can see that, so this is what kind of a stiff ankle kind of looks like. She doesn't have a whole lot of pronation on that foot naturally, and you saw that with her barefoot running. So for her, this was a pretty reasonable and felt good change. She's in the middle of Ironman training, so that can be a little stressful to change shoes, but with the Hoka Bondi, so she's getting a wide shoe to accommodate her foot. It feels good, and then the berry superfoot within it, and fixing some of the issues that we were seeing with the other Hoka. So this was her solution that we cooked up, and moving forward, she's also working on strength here and here, and then working on some length here. And really, once you get the strength here and then you level out the hips, the IT band generally goes away, because it's not the IT band's issue. Her issue was her hips were here, and so if this would be normal length for IT band. Hers was a little bit longer. Oops, not that long. A little bit longer because of the hip being the hip being a little bit higher on that one side. So the IT band was getting overstretched. So anyway, that is a little bit about shoe analysis and gait analysis. Have a great day. Namaste.